you are going to pin your skirt that will be gathered, right side of your skirt to the right side of your waistband. This will actually be easier to do if you are looking at the skirt, so put your waistband piece on the bottom. The 3 areas that need to match. Match the notch that is in the center there. And then the right and the left-hand side of your sample, or if you were on real clothing, it would be the right and the left-hand side seam allowances of the item that you are making. And then this lets you know how much extra fabric is in that skirt or whatever it is that you are gathering up. And so you've identified all of the spots that need to match. At this point now, where this is the wrong side, this would be your bobbin threads. And so you are going to get all of your bobbin threads, and you will have 3 of them. Separate out the bobbin thread from the needle thread. And get your 3 bobbin threads. You want to be sure you pull them all at the same tension or the same amount. If you just hold them between your thumb and forefinger like that, the odds are some of them are going to slip. And so you want to take that and wrap it around so they're held tightly. And you'll pull that basting thread, and then with your fabric in between your thumb and your finger again, helping to ease that along all 3 rows at the same time, you basically are pulling on the bobbin thread, those 3 rows of basting, and with your thumb and your finger, easing the skirt fabric along those threads, and you pull it up until your skirt is now the same length that your waistband is. And when they are the same length, give it one tiny little bit extra, because as you ease those gathers and you get them even, they tend to relax just a little bit. Then take the threads that you've been pulling and wrap a figure 8 around the pin at the end, so that as you pull, it can't come, what you've just gathered up can't come out. Okay? And then you'll do the same thing to the opposite side. You'll get your 3 gathering threads, or your 3 bobbin threads. Make sure again that you've got all 3 of them wrapped around your finger so that you're holding all 3 tight. And then same thing, you're going to pull. And if you have your thumb basically covering up your 3 rows of stitching so that you are pulling on all 3 rows evenly. And then again, get it back the same so that it's the same width, same length now. Pull it that one tiny little bit of extra to allow for it to relax as you even out the gathers. And then again, figure 8, the thread around the pin so that it holds it in place and it can't pull off the edge there. So now the skirt is the same length as the waistband, so it will fit. But if you look at these gathers, they're not straight up and down, and they're not we've got places here that are more gathered and places that are less gathered. So now just with your fingers, you are going to redistribute those gathers, if you will, so that you have the same amount of gather or the same amount of fabric pulled up in every single place. Okay? Then once you have that, you can take your fingernail now, and in sections, you just take your fingernail and run it back and forth, and you can see that that helps to distribute and to get those gathers the same size. And you will do that between each section. If you have a really long area that you're doing, much bigger than your sample, take advantage of your cork tabletop here, and you can take your gathers, take your project, and you can actually pin it into your cork tabletop there, which allows you to have a little bit of tension on that sample. And now for the final, to get those gathers evenly distributed, just take the tip of your pin and very carefully, I kind of like to think of this as playing a harp, if you will. You're just kind of going back and forth across that very lightly and helping to distribute those gathers and get each little wrinkle about the same size so that you don't have large areas and small areas and flat spots in the item that you're gathering up. So when you've got it and you're pretty pleased with it, and you can actually kind of hold on to it and pull down and look and see, are they fairly close to the same size? When you're happy with that, then you are ready to sew the seam. And it sews at 5/8 of an inch, and you want to sew looking at your gathers. Whenever you are sewing, if you think in terms of the piece of the garment that's most likely to cause you trouble, if you look at it, it's less likely to give you the trouble that it might otherwise. The waistband is a nice flat piece. It's less likely to tuck or to have something wrong with it. So we'll put that nice flat piece at the ground, looking at the bottom. And we are going to start on the garment. Back stitch at 5/8 of an inch. And you'll notice that this 5/8 inch row of stitching is right between, get back to regulation here, is right between the row of basting that you did at 1/2 inch and the row of basting that you did at 3/4 of an inch. It's a good idea to take your pins out as you go rather than to sew over the top of them, for fear that you may hit the pin and break the needle. And even if you jump the pin, it actually changes the stitch length a little bit, and you get a little bit of a stitch wobble, a little bit of a wrinkle in your stitching. Go to the other end, back stitch, and cut your threads. And then you can look at that and make sure that your gathers are well distributed, that you don't have any big tucks or any flat spots. If you're pleased with that, then you are ready to press.